Hey everyone, it's Bethany, and today's video is going to be all about breastfeeding and pumping. These are a lot of tips and tricks and products that I have learned to love. I am not a pro by any means, but I have learned a lot. While I was still pregnant and right after I had my son, I know I was looking up a bunch of different blog posts and YouTube videos to try to wrap my mind around this whole thing. Breastfeeding and pumping is like a full-time job. I absolutely love it. It has been an amazing experience, but it is hardcore. It really is. I mean, you have to really kind of change your life and your lifestyle according to when either your baby is hungry, so you're breastfeeding, or if you're going to go back to work and you need to start pumping, or if you're trying to increase your milk supply and all kinds of things. My first tip is definitely try to find a lactation specialist that you can meet with after you have your baby. I think that has been probably the best thing for me. Of course, while you're in the hospital right after you have your baby, the nurses and stuff are going to be there. They might have a lactation specialist that's going to come and see you. But one thing that I noticed personally is while I was in the hospital, there was a lot going on. I was totally just beyond the moon excited to have this little baby. I was completely overwhelmed, not knowing what to do. You know, you have instincts that come in, but having it be all brand new, you're tired, it's out of your comfort zone, you're not in the comfort of your home. There's just so much going on, and so even though you have maybe a nurse or a lactation specialist helping you out there, it's a totally different thing when you're actually home, you've gotten some sleep, you're in your zone, and you can kind of sit there and retain that information without another nurse coming in to take your blood pressure, or noises and beeps and you're hooked up to an IV or all kinds of stuff. Just having a lactation specialist come to your house, spend a couple hours with you is so important. A lot of them are covered by insurance, or you can see them, and with ours, our insurance paid 60%, so she just gave us a little slip to send into our insurance. It was $160 for her to come, and she spent about 2 hours with us, and then I can send her text messages anytime and she responds, so it was well worth the money, even if I wasn't going to get 60% back. And she also hosts, my lady hosts Wednesday breastfeeding support groups and all kinds of stuff. So I totally suggest it. Look it up before you even have your baby. I waited for a week afterwards, and I was really stressed out and trying to find one because I couldn't find all the answers that I wanted. So long description for find a lactation specialist to visit you after you have your baby. I just wrote down a bunch of stuff on my phone. There's not an order to it. I'm just going to start telling you kind of some products that I really loved and some tips. So the first thing is, when I had my son, he was not latching on. He was just a little too small. His mouth couldn't kind of grab on really well enough. And so I was manually expressing the colostrum and just would kind of put him on my breast after I got a droplet of it, or I was putting it on a spoon and we were kind of giving it to him that way. So however you can get that colostrum out, do it, because it's so healthy for the babies. So if you just have to manually express it, it's perfectly fine. I know if you are, able to have that baby to latch, your milk is probably going to be a little bit more amazing and come in faster, just because that baby's constantly kind of activating and getting those membranes and stuff like that to work. I was trying to pump as much as I could at the hospital. They have a hospital pump that they'll provide for you. So I was trying to do that in between kind of manually expressing. And because he was so small and he wasn't latching on, we did give some formula at the very beginning for the first couple days that he was in the hospital. And then as soon as my milk came in, I was switching him over to that. So one of the things as well is, if you're someone who wants to breastfeed your baby, it's not the end of the world if you have to give them some formula. I was definitely one of those people that I was I want to try to be totally, breastfeed that primarily. I don't want to give formula unless I have to. and I needed to, and that was okay. And the transition from formula to breast milk was totally easy. There was no like weaning off or anything like that. He just went from the bottle to me, and it was perfectly fine. One of the things that's going to be the best friend for breastfeeding pumping is be kind to yourself. Don't be super rigid, be kind of flexible, because there's going to be a lot of things that come that are not going to be by the book. So you just kind of have to take a deep breath. As long as your baby's getting fed and is gaining weight and is healthy, that's all that matters. So with that, my son not being able to latch, what they gave me at the hospital is what is called a nipple shield, so that they can kind of latch on. It's kind of like a actual little nipple, like a bottle nipple, and it's really easy for them to get on and start getting the milk out. You can't use this when you just have colostrum because the colostrum's so thick, but as soon as your milk comes in, you can use something like this. So this is what the package looks like. This is actually a size too big for me, but they come in different sizes. I am wearing a small. That's the one that fits me the most. They have extra small. This is a medium one, but this is what the package looks like, so I wanted to share with you guys that. And then I'm sure they have large, extra large. I don't know how high it goes. But this is a lifesaver, and I actually still use it to this day. It just goes right over your breast, and the baby just sucks on it just like a regular nipple would be. It's a little bit bigger, obviously, but it does the job, and they're getting the milk that they need. And if you can have a baby that latches really well and it's not painful for you, I mean, go for it. But with this, I mean, Jackson can latch now, but it's a lot of work, and I have to hold my breast the whole time, so I'm really just totally occupied. I can't have my other hand to kind of be free. He gets off a lot, and so he gets frustrated, and so it's frustrating, and I mean, it's a whole process. And so for me, the nipple shield, I've just kind of graduated to just doing that because it's so much easier. He's like totally a champ with it. It's really easy for me. He's getting all the milk that he needs, and it's just kind of a win-win situation. With that as well is because I'm not having direct contact with him, because there's the shields in between. I'm not having what a lot of women have, which is like that dry, cracked, bleeding nipples, really, really tender, really painful, especially again if you don't have that baby that's latching on correctly. Breastfeeding can kind of be painful, and so it's a lot easier for me that way as well. I haven't really had to use too much of like the Lanolin kind of nipple creams and stuff like that because I haven't been super tender. I asked my lactation specialist, you know, is it bad if I just always do the shield? And she was like, nope, he's getting the milk that he needs. It doesn't matter. I mean, you just have to carry an extra thing with you. I got these little containers on Amazon. I carry this with me, and I put like a couple binkies in there too, so I always have something. It's a little bit more sanitary. So I just clean these after each feeding, and I put them back in there with some, I clean with just some regular soap and water, and that's how I've been breastfeeding, and it has been really easy. You're still getting that bonding time. It's still such a beautiful experience having that baby next to you, and it's just an awesome time. As for pumping, I'm gonna jump around a little bit just according to my notes so I keep on track. I have the Pump and Style by Medela. It's a wonderful pump. I actually got it from my insurance, so definitely check with your insurance plan. A lot of them now are providing them, so that saves you several $100s if you're able to do that. It's a great pump. It does the job. You definitely are gonna want a pump. That's really important, especially if you are gonna go back to work, or if you wanna go on a date night or wherever, you're gonna need to pump here and there. A little tip as well is if you ask for a pump at the hospital, so don't bring your own, they will typically give you a whole kit so that it will be your personalized kit to use with their pump. You don't take that home. And I actually got 2 of them while I was there. They really helped and stocked me up. But this comes with a ton of the equipment that's gonna be extras for you. When I was first kind of reading up before I had met with my lactation specialist, I was just going off of, you know, different blogs and videos to kind of see what I needed to do for pumping. I was breastfeeding whenever Jackson was hungry, but I didn't know like how much I was supposed to pump in between. And then I totally like got overwhelmed because I was watching videos of women who had already had like, you know, 100 ounces in the first week that they had stored in their fridge and freezer for later. I was like, what? Like, I am like super excited if I get like a half an ounce from each breast. When I was first pumping, I was like, holy smokes, an ounce of milk. I was super excited. And then you see these videos of people who have like 4 ounces from each breast each time within the first couple weeks. Every woman is different, and it depends on how hardcore. Some people are exclusive pumpers, so they're pumping every 2 hours around the clock and only doing that for a few months, and then, you know, having their supply dry up and just having a ton of milk stored for, you know, the first year of their baby's lives. It depends on what you want to do. I want to exclusively breastfeed as much as I can, but then pump for when I go back to work. My overall goal is to breastfeed him for a year. Will it happen? I don't know. You know, I could completely dry up at month 6. Who knows? Every woman's different. It's just gonna be what my ideal goal is, and then you figure it out along the way. So while I was doing it, I was reading a lot of people who were pumping after every single feeding to kind of completely deplete their supply. And so I was doing that because I thought that's what you did. And so I was pumping so much throughout the day, and it's not only kind of painful to pump that much and breastfeed that much, but also a hassle. I mean, you have to clean all the equipment afterwards. You know, you're storing it to try to get enough to actually store in like a bag, you know, because a half an ounce is not that much to actually store, and it just was a lot. And so once I met with my lactation specialist, she's like, you don't need to do that. It's not needed. I mean, you're really not getting that much milk afterwards. Your baby's going to be telling you how much your baby needs, and is kind of communicating that with your supply, and it's just a lot of work. And if you over pump, you risk having like mastitis and having a lot of also concerns. Like if you don't have enough stimulation, then you could decrease your supply, but if you pump too much, then you can have all these other health risks and actually decrease your supply as well. So you want to kind of just be kind of in the middle. And so she said just breastfeed and then only pump once a day, because if you think about it, if you pump once a day and maybe get a couple ounces and you freeze that, by the time you actually go to work, even if you only do that for like a week before you go to work, you're only needing enough for that day at work, and while you're at work, you're pumping to then supply to the next day. You're not needing to have like a 3-month supply for when you go back to work, because you're going to be pumping and continuing to replenish that supply. So that was really helpful for me to hear, of like, you only need that first day when you're back at work. That's all you need. I personally wanted to have a little bit more just in case, so I have just been pumping once a day to try to build up my supply. And so I did that really since basically the first week that I was home. I started doing that, and so that I can have a little bit of a stash as well as have enough for when I first start work, and I'm not gonna have to be worried about it. And that has been my goal. So really I only pump once a day, have that bag, freeze it or keep it in the fridge, and I'm good to go. That max, my lactation specialist said for me to pump twice. So if I wanted to pump twice just for my stash, I could do that, but really only is necessary is that one pump. Of course, you're gonna pump more if you're skipping feeding. So if you're at work all day, you're gonna be pumping for the feeds that you would do naturally. So you could be pumping 5 times a day, depending on your supply and how uncomfortable you are. But you're not doing that in addition to then feeding all day as well. Hopefully that makes sense. Another thing that I was always questioning is, am I feeding this baby too much? Am I not feeding him enough? You know, and he would be like hungry and wanting to eat like every 45 minutes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm overfeeding him. And one of the things that I learned is that babies won't overeat. They will stop when they're done, and if they have overeaten, that's when they spit up. And that's with breast milk. Formula is a whole nother world. I don't know really anything of that right now. So this is just with breastfeeding. You can't really overfeed them. So, and also babies also do it not only because they're growing and they're cluster feeding and stuff like that, but they really just like it for comfort too. So a lot of times Jackson will be acting like he's starving, and really when he's there, he's just kind of slowly sipping away and just wants to kind of cuddle and be there. So when you're breastfeeding and during those few months when you're home with your baby, if you hopefully get a few months, just enjoy it. And if they want to, you know, eat every half an hour, eat, just have it happen. It's such a great experience, and just being there. I mean, you can't do a lot as a mom. You're really kind of stuck on the couch, and you're really at that point. That's why it's kind of like a full-time job, but you're only gonna do it for so much. And so your babies are gonna grow up, and so enjoy those moments. At least I have really been enjoying those moments. And use your family or your spouse or your friends to kind of help you, like get a meal or get you some water or whatever. And you'll start getting good to where you're breastfeeding and carrying around that baby at the same time and kind of doing some little things around the house. And all that, even if they're doing it just out of comfort, that's all helping your supply as well, because that stimulation on your breast is, again, telling your supply, okay, this baby's wanting to eat, and so it's helping to build up that supply. So it's a win-win all the way around. I learned on the lifespan of milk, because that was another thing too. I was like, how long can I have it out? You know, how long can it be in the fridge? All of that stuff. My lactation specialist likes the 5 rules. 5 hours in room temperature, 5 days in the refrigerator, and 5 months in the freezer. And then if you have a deep freezer, I think she said it's something like a year. So, you know, keeping by that. So what I'll do is right now I'm just putting it right in the freezer, and if I want to use milk, then I'll just take it out of the freezer, but I was keeping it in the fridge a little bit. And then, you know, if I know that I'm gonna use that bottle, I'll just keep it out for a couple hours if he's gonna eat it right away. Other thing too, I was like, does breast milk have to be hot? Does it have, not hot, but you know, warmed? It can't be hot. Or can it be cold? Does it have to be either way? And she said either way. It just depends on what your baby is preferencing. Jackson just wants food. He doesn't care either way, so we warm it a little bit, but he doesn't have to have it like a certain temperature. He would probably drink it cold and be perfectly fine. Another thing too, I was wondering is, like, say you have a bottle and you have like 2 ounces in there and your baby only drinks like an ounce. Do you have to throw away that other ounce? My lactation specialist said that you can put it back in the fridge, but you need to use it within 24 hours, just because when your baby's drinking out of that bottle, there is saliva and stuff going back into the milk, and so just to make sure there's no bacteria or anything like that, you want to make sure and have them eat it, or you're gonna have to toss it. As for a bottle warmer, I have one. I haven't used it yet, just because, again, Jackson, my son, doesn't have too much of a preference. What we do is just kind of warm up the tap water a little bit, and then just run it underneath there until it's just lukewarm, and then put it in the bottle. You don't ever want to microwave milk, so don't do that. The bottles that we've been using that I really like, and he seems to really like, are the Dr. Brown's one. These are actually the 8-ounce ones. We haven't popped into these yet. We're using the 4-ounce ones right now. These are really great. They really help with eliminating all of that gas and that air that can go through bottles. I also have changed the nipples to Preemie nipples. That was, again, suggested by a lactation specialist. She says it mimics kind of breastfeeding a little bit more. They can't get like that rush of milk with the bottle feeding, so it helps to kind of extend that they're feeding. They're not just chugging that bottle down. They're actually able to kind of suck at it for a while, and then it keeps them fuller a little bit longer, and you're not confusing them too much. I know there is all of that talk about like nipple confusion and stuff. That was one of the things that I was wondering with the shields. Again, it's gonna be different. Babies are gonna have different problems. Jackson has been perfectly fine with my regular nipple, the nipple shield, the nipples from the bottles. He doesn't care. So every baby is different though. So that's just gonna be something that you kind of have to just experiment with. The only thing that the lactation specialist did suggest is not giving a pacifier until they're 3 weeks old. And she preferenced the Avent Soothies ones. And so I bought a few backups of these. I have the 0 to 3, and then you can get 3 to 6 months or 3 to 12 months, I don't know. But we have the 0 to 3 ones. And these have been really nice. Jackson really likes them. I started introducing them to him at around the 3-week mark, just because I wanted a little bit of a break, and he does want to be sucking a lot. And so instead of having him constantly on me and me not be able to take a shower or, you know, if he's trying to take a nap and we want to have him like in a swing and try to get him to nap that way without having to disturb him once he's fallen asleep, then we'll give him the pacifier just to kind of help self-soothe. But that's really the only time he's using them, is when he's like getting a little fussy because he's tired, and instead of just having him self-soothe on me, I'm just using the pacifier. I think the 3-week thing is, so again, they're really getting used to breastfeeding and they're getting really good at that without adding something else into the mix. And the nipples on these are a lot different than what I've always been used to with pacifiers, where there's kind of like that flat edge. This is really very very similar to your actual nipple. So I think that's why she likes this specific one, because it mimics that, and there's, again, not that big of a difference with the nipple confusion. So with pumping, you want to get a pumping bra. Otherwise, you are sitting there the whole time, you can't do anything, you're just holding those pumps and you can't do anything. So you want to get a pumping bra. I got this one off Amazon. It was 30 bucks. It's a lifesaver. You have to really kind of plan your outfits according to either breastfeeding or pumping. That's just how it is going to be until you stop breastfeeding. So I really like just wearing, this is obviously a very vibrant print, but any kind of just tank top is going to be super easy, because you can just pop off and pop your boob right out, and it's going to be elasticy, so it's really, really easy. Nursing bras, I've been really liking both the bra that kind of clips on here. I'll link a couple that I really like, as well as the like sleep ones where you just kind of push the bra to the side. I found some really good ones that have been really affordable and have worked great. And then also just like really comfy, stretchy material tank tops are going to be really convenient, so you don't have to like take off your shirt. So you want to really plan for that. Like when I'm going out and I know that I'm going to be feeding him at some time, I'm not going to be wearing something where I can't easily kind of access, because then you're really having to, you know, take off your shirt completely, or if you're wearing a dress, you're going to probably have to go into a private area to do that. So even like this is not something that's super flexible, so I wouldn't be able to really kind of go out in the world if I'm going to be trying to pump and or feed. So something that's going to be really stretchy, easy access is going to be the easiest for you. Definitely want to get a Boppy. That has been a lifesaver for just around the house. It's so nice and easy. I know many people just get them, and I totally suggest them. He also really likes it just to kind of be propped up on. It's good for tummy time. It's great for a lot of different things, but especially for breastfeeding, when you just kind of want to, you know, have your arm propped up and everything like that, it's awesome. And even if you can kind of lean over a little bit and have your hands free if you're trying to eat or type or whatever, you totally want that Boppy. A couple little extra things along the way that I have found for pumping or breastfeeding. When it comes to pads, I have pretty sensitive skin, so I tried the disposable ones. There's a bunch that you can purchase, and they itched like crazy, and I ripped them out after like a couple minutes. So I do not like the disposable ones at all. I 100% prefer any kind of the washable ones. So these are by Medela. These are fantastic as well. These are the Medela Quick Clean. A lot of different brands make this. I've only tried the Medela. These are micro steam bags, and so it's just a plastic bag, but what you do is you put some of like your pump equipment or like bottles or pacifiers, you know, whatever you want to use and sanitize instead of washing them all the time. Especially something like a pump where you're using it multiple times a day, you want to be able to kind of sanitize it in between. And so these look like this. There's 30 uses per one, and there's like a little, 20 uses, sorry. There's a little calendar here so you can kind of click off when you've used them, and you just put 2 ounces of water in there and you microwave it. For my microwave, it's 3 minutes, and you're good to go, and you can kind of sanitize. These are going to be really helpful like when you're at work and you want to sanitize like your pumping equipment in between. Those are great, and so you get 5 of them in a pack, and you get 20 uses per one. I think last but not least, the Nook brand for the breast milk bags are the ones that I have heard are the best. And so far so good with me. These are the Seal & Go breast milk bags. There comes in 50 of them. I think they're like $8 or $9 for the package. And great reviews on these with leaking and things of that nature. I've used them from the freezer as well, and I haven't had any leaking, so I definitely suggest the Nook brand for your storage bags. I hope this video is really helpful for you. Again, kind of the biggest advice is really be kind to yourself, be flexible. Don't be super rigid on what like your goals and plans are gonna be, because you gotta be flexible because things just change. And don't compare yourself to other women. Everyone kind of produces and has different struggles and, you know, different things that they're really good at when it comes to breastfeeding and pumping. And so you want to just kind of know that this like is your personal journey and not comparing yourself to other people, because I know I am totally still that person that is like, how many ounces is that person pumping? That's insane. It's just how our bodies are and what our supply is in that moment, and it's all good as long as your baby's getting what it needs and is growing and is healthy. That's perfect. So that's kind of the biggest advice, but hopefully these tips and tricks and these products will be helpful for you as well.